testing, control, and report or chemistry. Okay, I'm surprised we got the numbers we have, to be fair, because this is one of those subjects that's kind of sort of, you know what I mean? All right, let's crack on so we can go through. Okay, so regardless of the pool you're running, be it a commercial pool, be it a light commercial pool, be it a domestic pool, be it engineers, whatever, you can have the best setup in the world in regards to your plant room. Filtration, variable speed drives, UV, the full works. If we don't manage the chemistry in the swimming pool, it's all for nothing really, okay? And so when we start looking at our responsibilities, either as engineers or as operators, okay, or maybe swim teachers or something like that, any scenario you may find yourself in, okay, you have to make sure we're doing the job properly and we're keeping up our responsibilities to our customers, okay? Obviously, this is covered under the Health and Safety Work Act, the Management Health and Safety Work Regulations, okay, cost regulations as well, right, will include things like not only your daily testing, but also your microbiological samples that we sent off to laboratories to be tested to make sure that you are keeping people safe in your pool, okay? And obviously there comes to enforcement as well. If we do things wrong, where do we stand, what we've got to do, what's expected of you in the industry to make sure you're doing your job, okay? This is the only bit we're going to talk about microbiological very quickly because we're going to stick to the main water testing on this. Microbiological testing, okay, you're going to require 4 basic tests, which are deemed to be the norm, okay? And again, this is aimed at the commercial world, all right? But if you are taking money for use of a swimming pool, then obviously this will come under your remit as well. Okay, we've got aerobic colony count, okay, coliforms, E. coli, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. These are very simple microbiological tests that are completed to ensure that you are keeping the EHOs, okay, the environmental health officers happy regarding what you're providing to your customers. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right? You can step that up. You can do other testing like Legionellas, okay? You can do Staphylococcus aureus, okay? And there's loads of other ones you can do as well, all right? If you want to. But the 4 on the left-hand side there are the main 4 that commercial pools are held to, and any kind of light commercial systems are being held to as well, all right? When we start looking at water testing itself, we're talking about the main base water testing. So can I get a show of hands who actually does water testing on their site or has some experience of water testing? Yeah? Awesome, everybody. Yeah, of course you do, Colin. I know you do. Yeah. Just so you don't, if anybody doesn't know, we've got Colin Day in the back there, okay? Wave, Colin, come on, say hello, that's it, all right? Should be teaching this really, not me, he should be doing this, he's the expert. But through. Okay, the manager, in inverted commas, is responsible for the operation of the pool and ensuring that water testing is being done, okay? You need to set out your agreed area of pool, okay, where you're going to get the water tests from, okay, the samples from. Engineers will get very used to doing their water testing from the sample cell, maybe, from the control unit, okay, whereas rest was taken from the pool. Set out your testing regime and stick to it, okay? Now, I'll talk about the PWTAG Codes of Practice recommendations in a second, okay, but you must stick to your regime, okay? There is no excuses for not following it, okay? Train your staff how to do your water testing properly. Yes, there are various training providers in the industry, and yes, they all follow a similar set of guidance from PWTAG, okay, but there are different types of courses. For example, there are water testing courses, so if you want staff just to do that rather than doing maybe the full pool plant operator, you know, you roll your sleeves up and get hands dirty in the plant room, okay? Understand how you use your water testing equipment. Okay, what are you using? Are you using a photometer? Are you using a comparator? Yeah, okay. Understand the procedures for that kit, and I know that's the dreaded word of actually looking at the instruction manual. Yeah, at which point you see every guy in the audience shiver. Yeah, because we don't look at instruction manuals, do we? All right. Keeping the kit clean. I'm lucky enough to be able to visit lots of different sites, and that's probably one of the biggest problems we have with people using their test kits is they get filthy and they stay filthy. Yeah, keep the kit clean. Okay, and then calibration. All right. Your unit should be calibrated, okay, on an annual basis, all right? That is dependent on the usage, okay? And I'm sure Colin will back me up here, but it should be on a regular basis to ensure that you are providing the right level of cover. Okay, so what does PWTAG say? PWTAG say, okay, you should be doing a minimum of 3 tests per day on that pool. Once before you open, once in the middle, once after you close the pool off, okay? If your pool is running on an automated system. So if you've got a little computer on the wall, measuring the chemistry, dosing the chemicals for you, yeah, you're good to go for 3 tests per day, all right? If you're on a manual dosing system or your automatic dosing system fails for any reason, then you've got to drop down to a 2-hourly test, okay? This is mainly because your turnaround times, your swimming pools of an average for a commercial setup is 2 to 3 hours. So this ensures you keep the water tests, keep the chemicals you pull in line before they go too far off. All right. Samples should be taken from the pool, always from the swimming pool. Engineers will quite often take one from, like I said, the sample tap from the control unit to, if they want to calibrate the control system. But we need to take our samples from the pool itself and look at your swimming pool. Look where the water comes in, look where the water comes out. Okay, you only take the water sample from the furthest point away from the inlets, so the worst possible part of the pool. If you can keep that golden, okay, then you're good to go. All right, and always take water sample from a depth of 100 to 300 mil below the surface of the water. Okay, the old rule of thumb was up to your elbow. Okay, yeah, when you take the water sample, if you're lucky enough to have a stick with a bottle, happy days. All right. When we start looking at water testing, 3 main types of testing equipment we can have. Okay, the photometers, the comparators, and of course the test strips. All right, the photometers are the most accurate. Okay, they are affected by lack of process, i.e. you not knowing how the system works. Okay, definitely affected by cleanliness, massively. Okay, I was lucky enough to have some training from the experts yesterday, right? And a point that was made very clear is they are simply measuring a colour of water. They don't know what it is, what they're measuring. They just go, yeah, that's pink, and pink on this setting gives me 1.5. Yeah, and so you have to give that piece of equipment the best opportunity to be able to do its job properly. Okay, coming down to, missed one, tablet and expiry contamination. Obviously our tablets, make sure they're in good nick, okay, make sure they're in the use by date, yeah, so you don't have any problems from there. Comparators, a bit old school now, okay, but this is why when I first started, this is what we played with all the time, okay. Comparators, as we see here, okay, moderately accurate. They do have their place, definitely. They don't really let you down, but they are affected on your light source. For example, the light you coming in from the back of it, yeah, they are affected by your individual perception of colour. Okay, so if you are colourblind or you have slight problems with that, then obviously that's no good to you at all. Trying to match what grey is what, okay, isn't really going to work. Okay, and obviously you get the same tablet, okay, contamination or expiry going from that as well. And then we have test strips. No comment. Right, test strips. In my opinion, they're fine for your domestic world, they're fine for your pool gun back, your back garden swimming pool, but they're not applicable in any kind of commercial setting. Okay, they have their usage, they really do. But in regards to sort of if we're running a swimming pool for clients, for customers, then they don't give us anywhere near the level of accuracy we really need. Okay, so how does the photometer work then? It simply shines a beam of light through a cell. Okay, uses a receptor to measure the colour, like we already said. Okay, it's the colour that it's measuring, not the chemistry. All right, and this is why we need to make sure that the cell we're using, okay, is nice and clean. Okay, the cell chamber on the unit is nice and clean. Yeah, so we don't get any kind of contaminants. Right, even things like a good thumbprint on the side of a cell can throw the machines off a little bit. Right, and we want to make sure we look at when we look at water testing, it's always consistency. Yeah, consistency is key. Doing the right thing the same time every time. Okay. Some of the older testing, we used to have to shake the cells to get the tablets to help dissolve stuff. If you do that with a photometer cell, you're going to get tiny little bubbles in the liquid, and that is simply going to affect what the machine sees. Okay, so no shaking. Crush, swirl by all means, but no shaking. All right. And my personal bugbear as well, always dry them out after use. Okay, always dry them out after use. When you finish your cells, bit of blue roll, inside out, I know it's a pain, okay, but dry them out. Don't leave them to drip dry, don't leave them with the cells, with the sample still in them, because that's just going to stain the glass, okay, and cause more problems from there. All right? So when we look at water testing, your daily tests would include your pH, okay, your DBD1 and your DBD3 for your free chlorine and your total chlorine, okay? As I'm sure you all know, yeah, we work out our combined chlorine by subtracting our DBD1 away from our DBD3. So the top day of the day test, this is what you're doing 3 times a day minimum, every 2 hours best practice, okay, go from there. And then on a weekly test, we're going to start adding in things like alkalinity, calcium hardness, TDS, maybe cyanuric acid if you're working with an outdoor swimming pool. Okay, you need cyanuric acid work as a stabiliser for the chlorine. Yeah, keep an eye on that from there. All right. There are other tests we can add to. Okay, PWTAG is recommending if we're using certain chemicals, we might want to do things like sulfate tests, phosphate tests, maybe even copper tests, depending where we are in the country. That is individual to you guys at your site. Okay, but top daily test: pH, free chlorine, total chlorine. Weekly test: alkalinity, calcium, TDS. Okay. record your readings, always, okay? A single water test, all right, when we start looking at the balanced water testing, is next to useless, okay? 3 months worth is a usable entity of information, as we say, okay? When we're actually looking at it, obviously clean the kit out after use. We're collecting our water sample, like I've already said, between 100 and 300 ml below the surface. These are the sticks I mentioned, okay? Nice little band on, so we know how deep we're going. Release the button, job done. Okay, you're going to take your 10 ml mark on your cell. Okay, make sure it always up to the 10, not above the 10. Okay, so you get a good accuracy. The tablets that you get for your photometers, okay, are measured to work with a certain amount of water, and that amount only. Yeah, so if we put 11 ml in, you're going to get a different result. If you put 9 ml in, you're going to get a different result. Right? They are designed for 10 ml, so use the 10 ml on them. Okay. With the DBD1 tablet, okay, we want to decant a small amount of water into the cell, crush the tablet up, okay, and then add the remaining 9 millimeters to the cell. And this is where syringes are really important. When you open your test kit up, you always get that little syringe, don't you? And that's the first thing to be either left in the foam or you throw it away. The syringes are really important. Use them. They help you accurately control the water in your cells, okay? Do not touch the tablets, okay? That is going to contaminate them. If you drop it, you throw it away. Put a new one, okay? Don't pick it up with the desk. Put it into the test from there. Crush is required, okay? Again, making sure you follow the instructions on your control unit, all right? And be careful not to aerate the water. That's about shaking it up, all right? Chop the water line up, okay? With the DBD1 test, okay, the free chlorine test, we put a few drops of water into the cell, we crush the tablet up, okay, to a paste, and with the syringe, they're very kindly given us in the kit, okay, we then top up to 10 ml. As we're doing this, we are looking for a colour change. If it goes pink on the DBD1 and stays pink, happy days, yeah? No problem at all, we're good. If it goes pink and disappears again, all right, we have bleached the tablet out, okay? The chlorine level in the pool is too high. Yeah, and in the same way, if you get chlorine spilt in your clothes, it bleaches it out. The same thing happens to the tablet, okay? So a little bit of water first, crush, 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 crush. Add the rest of it, look for the colour change. If you get the colour change and it stays pink, great. If not, we might have problems, okay? It's a warning, so you don't go to fix a problem which actually isn't there. Okay, if you go onto online, okay, using that code there, you can see the legend that is Mr. Ian Olive, okay, right, who's currently the PWTAG president. All right, this is a whole water testing video, so you can use that for helping to train your staff. Okay, he's the best of the best, and so you can go from there. All right, I'm sure you'll love me that photograph up there. Yeah, good photo. Right, okay, we're good. When we start water testing, really. Hello. Technical issue. Nice. Talk about yourself for a second. Did someone sit on a remote? Okay. This image here very simply shows the water level in that cell being way above the 10 ml mark. You see that? Yeah, and that is going to affect what the machine uses. I'm sorry, Colin, that's a pain test one, I know. Yeah. All right, okay, but we will make sure the water level we're putting in has got to be accurate to make sure it works. Okay, dilution testing. This is a nice little tool to have in your back pocket, okay, to get yourself out of trouble in case you have an issue. All right, on your sites, if your dosing control unit has a hissy fit overnight and decides to empty the contents of the day tank into the swimming pool, yeah, right, you won't know about it. You won't see it in the pool, okay, until you put your DBD1 tablet in, you crush it up, and it gets bleached out, so you don't get the pink colour. You need to dilute your test solution so you can get an accurate reading. In your log, which I'll show you at the end, you cannot put OR, over range, or high, or unreadable. You have to put a number, okay? And so to get a number read from a pool that's got too much chlorine in it, okay, you need to do the dilution test. All you got to do is go buy yourself a bottle of deionized water, okay, from any old supermarket, all right? Stick it at the plant room and it will sit there for probably decades, all right, because you only use a little bit now and again. You are simply going to reduce the dilution rate of your sample cell. So you've got your sample out of the water, okay, right, you're going to get yourself a beaker. Now you can get specialist ones like this, or you can get any measured beaker, doesn't matter, okay, so you've got one that's 100 ml, you're going to go 50 ml pool water and then 50 ml deionized water, Okay, nice and simple, yeah? And you've diluted your sample strength by 50%, yeah? You're then going to do your test again. And if your photometer goes, yes, that's cool, I can read it, and gives you a number, you simply double the result, okay? So if you get the result, it comes back, say, 6 milligrams a litre, you're going to then come back, I've got 12 milligrams a litre in the pool. Does that make sense? Nice and simple, yeah? A lot of the units have high range settings as well, okay? So you can actually select, the machine will go so far for you, should we say. If that doesn't work, then you've simply got to increase the dilution rate. Okay, you can go to 25, 75, or even 10 to 90 if you need to. I would suggest if you've gone this far, there's quite a big problem because you shouldn't have had your chemicals that far out of solution. Okay, but it has happened. All right. Again, something you might use, maybe engineers, you might use maybe once, twice a year. Yeah. Okay, it doesn't happen very often, but it's good to have it if you've got it. Okay, so points to note when looking at water testing. Okay, complete the test as shown to you, as taught you on courses. Okay, or in the instruction manual. Right, make sure you follow the right ways of doing it. Okay, make sure your equipment's clean. Yeah, it's when I teach courses, I have a nice few little crushing rods that I've collected from sites over the years that are black. Yeah, and it's just biofilm build up, and it's just contaminating every single test you do. Right old mess. Okay, never touch the tablets. Okay, right. Remember the DBD1 test? A few drops of water, crush, 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 top it up. Don't drop your DBD1 test straight into 10 mil. Okay, otherwise you're gonna get the bleaching out problem. All right. Certain tests require a wait time. So calcium harness, for example. Yeah. Right. Any test that has 2 tablets going in requires a 2-minute wait. All right. Your calcium harness test, your DBD3 test. Okay, requires a 2-minute. Again, check the instruction manual of your units, and you can't go wrong. Okay, make sure the units are nice and dry, and then again the sample slot on the photometer. Okay, I've picked these up numerous times and poured water out the damn things. Okay, because people are putting wet test tubes into the machine, so always dry them off before and after use. Okay, all right, and make sure the cover caps as well. The padding test, for example, have a black rubber like top hat goes on top. Okay, some of the older ones have got a cup that goes on top as well. The Lovely Bond Systems screw lid's got a nice little collar around it, so when it's sitting flush into the machine, that little collar blocks any outside light. Because remember, the machine is using light to read the strength of the colour. Okay, so we don't want any external light getting in there. I've seen people do that with no lid on it at all. Yeah, and it's like log out the window. All right. Parameters, loads of numbers. Yeah. Okay, so. All right, when we start looking at water testing, you can get a bit geeky about it, I must admit. All right, these are the numbers laid down by PWTAG that we are recommended. Okay, I know there are variations in regards to certain experts in the industry do think about other, other set points. All right, pH 774. Okay, your free chlorine 0.75 to 2. Depends on the type of pool you're running. Okay, if you're running spas, maybe you're going to want to be higher. If you're running hydro pools, maybe slightly higher as well. Okay, combined chlorine, the 2 golden rules: less than 1, less than half of the free. Okay, right? Is my combined chlorine less than half of the free chlorine, and I'm all good. Okay, bromine. Anyone use bromine? No, you don't see it very often. Okay, you may see it in hot tubs more than anything else. Okay, again, slightly higher level. Bromine is a whole different kettle of fish when we start looking at chemistry. All right. Cyanuric acid, okay, less than 1,000. And cyanuric acid, we work with outdoor pools. Try to make sure we keep that nice and low, because it will affect how your dose control units work if you start getting too far off. Okay. Alkalinity and calcium harness, we'll talk about in just a second. Okay. TDS, okay, less than 1,000 over your source water. So whatever you've got coming in, your total dissolved solids need to be no more than 1,000 over your source. If I've got 200 coming in, I'm allowed no more than 1,200 in the pool. Okay, unless I'm using a salt chlorination system, turning salt into chlorine. Okay, then I've got a 1,500 range rather than just 1,000. Okay, temperature as well. Okay, and the Langelier index, which we're not going to go down that route now because that's going to get far too complicated. All right, a lot of sites will have a traffic light system. Okay, which I fully endorse. This is a very good idea, because you will try. It's only geeks like myself who are really into this kind of stuff. The rest of us have got jobs to do. All right, so if you do a water test and you can apply it to a colour to go good, bad, or not so good, should we say, right, then you can go from there, okay? This shows pH and chlorine twice because of the reaction of pH on chlorine and how it affects the effectiveness of it. Again, a whole other rabbit one. I'm not going to go down that route now, okay? but very, very important, okay? And so your staff can very easily do a water test once you train them up, and they can go, what was that number? Can't remember. Look at this. Is it in the green, yellow, or red? And if so, what action do I need to take? It's a very good prompt, okay? What I would say, though, is these do need to be kept up to date, because when PWTAG try to change their mind on something, you must update it, yeah? Again, I'm sure lots of you see logs and numbers, you know, well out of date, okay? Because people have never changed them in the plant rooms, all right? Alkalinity. Okay, so alkalinity is really important. There's a whole different presentation on this, which I won't bore you with, okay? But it is really important. In a nutshell, the alkalinity in your swimming pool, okay, affects how your pH responds in your pool. Now, we all know if we pour some acid into our swimming pool, okay, the pH will go down. Yeah, that's the idea anyway, okay? If my alkalinity is between 80 and 200, then I will get a measured response, a predictable response, okay? If my alkalinity drops below 80, the speed at which your pH drops, okay, will increase, okay? So when our alkalinity drops below 80 milligrams a litre, we get what's called pH bounce, okay? And you can look back through your logs and you can see, is your pH, you know, peaking and troughing through the last couple of days? If it is, then alkalinity is the reason. Alkalinity is a buffer. Okay, it slows down that reaction. We don't want speedy reaction because your control unit won't be able to keep hold of it. I like to liken it to the very first computer game, Pong. Who remembers that? Who's going to show the rage? Yeah, good man. Okay, right. All your control unit's trying to do is just trying to keep the pH in one place. That's all it's doing. Yeah, and as your alkalinity drops, your little square ball, yeah, right, speeds up, and the machine will just miss it and it will go flying off. It's the same process, okay? Very, very simple, all right? If we want to increase our alkalinity in our swimming pool, we use sodium bicarbonate, all right? Don't forget to take into account what comes in through the tap as well. If you're in a hard water area, okay, you can turn the tap on and get the same response. If you're in a soft water area, then you're going to need to, more likely have to resort to a chemical assistance, i.e. bicarb, okay? Again, this has been spoken about by numerous tutors, okay, throughout this seminar, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Okay, if you want to decrease it, we simply use an acid. Okay, now in my experience with commercial swimming pools, we don't have a problem decreasing it; we have a problem keeping it up. Okay, right? We have to bolster it. So a lot of sites now are having to resort to bicarb to keep that going. Okay, on calcium hardness. Okay, I'm very conscious of time. Okay, on calcium hardness right now. Again, 80 to 200, nice, easy to remember. Yeah. This is something that has a big effect on the swimming pool, but we have very little control over it if we want to reduce it. We can't really reduce. We don't use softened water systems or anything like that, okay, to take the calcium out of the water. The only thing we can as a rule do is bolster it, okay? And in hard water areas, the only thing we do to try and control it is minimize our use on calcium-based disinfectants, okay? Now, that's not a straight line because there are numerous pools I know of that have had calcium-based systems installed and they work very well in a hard water area, but it just needs a little bit of extra technical sort of playing around. But as a rule, we don't use calcium in hard water areas, we use it in the soft water areas. So Scotland, North England, West Wales, Devon and Cornwall will nearly all run on calcium hypochlorite, okay, or HH as we commonly know it. Yeah. If it goes too low, the water will look for calcium elsewhere and it will find it in your pool tank. Okay, it will find it in the grout between your tiles. It will find it in the adhesive behind your tiles. It will find it in the tank itself. Okay, and your pool will very slowly eat away at your pool tank and destroy it. Okay, so balancing it off is important. Not so much just so we get the numbers right, it's to protect the lifespan of your swimming pool. Okay, very easy to control, fairly easy to understand. It's nothing too technical really. Okay, all right, but just look at what you're putting into the pool. Your fresh water, your chemicals, all that kind of stuff. Is it affecting it, okay? Yeah, on the outside looking in, if you guys aren't sort of, you know, au fait with this, it can be a little bit sort of intimidating, but I promise you, it is fairly simple. If it wasn't, they wouldn't let me teach it, okay? It's got to be fairly, very easy, all right? The drop test method of water testing, okay? Again, a bit old school, okay? You're seeing less and less of it, but it's still there, it's still out there, it's still effective, okay? We are testing alkalinity calcium hardness, all right? In most of our systems, we've got a photometer, okay, that will measure these settings, okay, but if we don't, then we can play with these bad boys. We simply add a very tiny tablet to 50 ml or 100 ml of water, depending on what you choose, okay, and then we simply shake it, put a lid on, shake it away, okay? We're looking for a color change, right? Alkalinity will go from yellow to pink, calcium will go from pink to violet, right? It's very, very simple, right? The color change is not gradual, okay, it will go yellow, 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 pink, bang, on one tablet. And all you've got to do is remember the number of tablets you put in, okay, which is always a bit that catches people out. Oh, was it 6, 7, you know? And then we do a nice simple test, the number of tablets, again, depending on the amount of water we've used, okay, times 20 or 40 minus 10 will give us our read. So for example, 6 tablets times 20 is 120, minus 10, okay, is 110 milligrams a litre. And that gives you a nice, easy reference to what my Cash minus, okay, all my alkalinity may be in our pool. All right. This again, if you're colourblind, not so good. Yeah. All right. So sort of cover yourself from that. Check the expiry of the tablets. Make sure you're using the right tablets. Don't use photometer tablets or comparative tablets. These are their own specialist tablets. They normally come in a little brown glass bottle. Okay, as a rule. All right. Okay, and known process. And always remember, put the lid on it before you start shaking it. Yeah. TDS, total dissolved solids. This is very simply a measurement of the amount of chemical content in our swimming pool. When you turn your tap on to fill your swimming pool up, okay, you're putting lovely, fresh, portable water in. Yeah, that already has a TDS level. Okay, and you need to know what that is coming in through the tap, because that's what we add 1,000 to get our reasoning. Okay, we then go, right, before I let those dirty bathers into my swimming pool, I'll put a bit of chlorine in. Yeah, if I can put chlorine, I normally put a bit of acid as well. I might use a flocculant, I might use a cyanuric acid for an outdoor pool, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the chemical levels are going to build in my swimming pool. And then we let the bathers in. And they bring all their filth and all their chemicals and all that kind of stuff. Right, so the TDS goes up again. And then our dosage control unit responds by adding more chemistry in. Yeah, and so our TDS, if left uncontrolled, will just slowly climb. Okay, remember the 1,000 over source. If I've got 200 coming through the tap, or 300 or 400, whatever, I add 1,000 to it, and that is my limit. Okay, in the commercial world, we do sometimes struggle with this. For a busy commercial pool, you're seeing maybe 700 people a day going through that swimming pool, which means a lot of chemistry, a lot of, you know, other muck getting in. Okay, it's going to build it up. Yeah, and a lot of places really struggle to drive this down. I have seen some horrendous ones. Okay, where when you dive in, it must hurt because the water's that thick. All right, with your TDS meters, advice: get a good bit of kit. Okay, you might have very cheap ones on for £4 on eBay. Get yourself a decent one from a decent brand, okay? Make sure the probes are clean, make sure it's looked after, and one you can calibrate yourself. You can buy a fixed solution and calibrate it, saves you money. Happy days, yeah? All right? Again, something that's a weekly test to keep an eye on, all right? It'll take you months to build TDS up, and it'll take you months to bring it back down again. So if you do a TDS test and you've got problems, you've got to look long-term to bring it down. Look at the operation, how we manage the swimming pool, yeah? All right? And I know this might sort of irk some people. Backwashing doesn't fix everything. All right, so please don't resort to backwashing just to fix everything, yeah? Dump water, by all means, but don't always have to backwash. Okay, water testing logs. Now, most of the industry, and this is what Colin said yesterday actually, most of the industry is still using paper logs, okay, and will probably stay that way for quite a long time, yeah? There are numerous online systems and electronic systems out there. A lot of companies will use, you know, good old-fashioned Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, happy days, does the job. Okay, but you must record it. These are really important. Okay, all right. They have to be put in accurately. There's no excuse for missing dates, missing sheets of paper, missing tests. You know, names, signatures. None, you know, there's no excuse for any of that. It's got to be done properly. Okay, if you're gonna, as commercial operators, if you're gonna entrust your lifeguards to do the water testing, you might want to double check it, yeah? Not that you don't trust your lifeguards, but there we go, okay? They must be kept for 5 years, minimum, okay? That doesn't have to be paper copy, that can be electronic as well, all right? But you must keep them 5 years, in accordance to cost regulations, okay? The HSE, anybody might say, give me the water test from your pool from 4 years, 6 months ago, and you've got to be able to go, bosh, yeah? Okay? They are used in court when things go wrong, okay? To either hang you or save you, okay? A well filled out log sheet will hopefully help you, okay? But if you can't provide it, or if there's gaps missing, there's a very good chance it's the final nail in the coffin that's going to finish you off on whatever the problem is, okay? So please make sure they're done properly, yeah? If you're sitting there thinking, oh, we don't do that, draw a line in the sand and start from tomorrow, okay? And just get things going right. How's that for timing? Was that all right? Yeah. Any questions about this stunning subject that is water testing? Didn't think so. Right. Cheers, guys. That's it. Thank you.